Hi, pllestie. I hope you know who I am because I don't know how to explain myself and what you are seeing right now, nor am I going to. All I know is that a bunch of people requested that I put my videos from TikTok on YouTube as well. And quick disclaimer, please listen to these videos not necessarily thinking of me as like this all-knowing encyclopedia of Plave facts, because while I do try to make sure that I'm not telling you like nonsense, sometimes things might be a little bit inaccurate or things literally got lost in translation. I try to add corrections wherever possible, but I'm doing this as a hobby next to my full-time job. So listen to these more like I'm your Plave bestie and I just really like talking about them. I don't know yet if I will keep the comments on or off. I guess we will see. Because unfortunately I'm not sure if I can manage another comment section. But regardless of whether it's on or off, you can always talk to me both on TikTok as well as on Twitter. Both are linked in my profile as well as in the description. But enough of this yapping. Let's get to the real yapping. I will try to group the videos from like beginner information to advanced information. But remember, each video is 10 minutes long and they sometimes don't really have a good transition, so don't mind me and just bear with it. Thank you. If you're sad about the groups in K-pop Demon Hunters being confined to the 1 hour and 50 minutes of the movie, and you were really intrigued by the virtual idol concept and you are just looking for more of that humor, of amazing music and amazing choreographies, I shit you not, Plave was literally made for you. They have hours, hundreds of hours of content. Most of it, especially everything that comes out new, is subbed in about 6 to 8 different languages. And they will never disband. They literally stream every week. Not only did they make hundreds of 2-hour live streams, also 42 episodes of their own variety show. That is 40 minutes each episode. They also produced and wrote about 20 songs, and somehow every single song is good. I'm not kidding you, I'm so picky with my music, but they literally do not know how to write a bad song. Every song, it's a no-skip album. They even have made multiple live streams where they compose music and make music on the spot. And then for the songs that have choreographies, they make their own choreographies as well. And then if you're still not convinced, they have the most intricate lore that I have ever seen in any group. And that lore is not just cosmetic. They have a whole world building that is very deep, layered. We're still in the middle of uncovering so much, and it has been over 2 years. And it's not just their fictional lore that is packed with so much, but also their personal lore. If you like found family, if you just like watching people get closer with each other and become more comfortable with each other, Plave is like a buffet of friendship and laughter and wholesomeness. Also, every member is popular, meaning no matter who you pick at the end as your bias, you will always get fed so much content. And their musical skills are crazy. If you really want a taste of that, check out their Killing Voice episode on Dingo on YouTube, where they sing a medley of their songs live. If you want to have a good laugh, either look up Plave compilations here on TikTok or on YouTube, or start watching their variety show, which is called Lasco, which is also on YouTube, and they have a playlist for it. If you want to get into their lore, I also made a video on it, and you can search Plave lore. And if you're interested in their tech, which is, by the way, I haven't touched on it, also fucking amazing, literally, they constantly do things that are unheard of in the industry, and they just do it on a random Thursday and don't even talk about it. There are literally no downsides to checking out Plave. They have made music in so many different genres that I'm sure there's something that you will like. Each one of them has their own personality, so I'm also sure that that will be someone that you like. And it's literally a movie that never ends. They will literally never disband. They said that themselves. I think they would rather die than disband, so this is not a temporary group either. Anyway, if you have any more questions, let me know.
도우노 가겠습니다. 누구요? 도우노 가겠습니다. 도우노요.
When Plave perform on stage, where are they? Are they behind the screen? Are they somewhere else in the venue? I'm so excited to tell you today. However, before I start, if you actually enjoy the magic and the mystery and just don't really want to know, that's totally valid and you're absolutely free to skip this video. But for those who do want to know, let me tell you all about it. There's a lot that goes into making it possible for Plave to perform on these stages. They perform on music shows, on award shows. They also guest on other people's shows. They need to wear motion capture suits and they have sensors all around them and cameras. They also have screens where they can see themselves, and then of course they also need the computers to render everything. And that is all really difficult to pack up and bring anywhere, so pretty much always they are at their own studio in their own company building. But how come their stages look so good and so real? Everything about the way Plave works on a technical level is just so genius, and also the result of incredibly hard work. The next question that people ask, okay, is it then holograms or like green screen, or how does it work? Amongst many options, holograms are one that they haven't used so far. What they use almost always is a fully virtual setup. What does that mean? They rebuild the whole stage, the whole background and everything and the lights from scratch in 3D. And in order to do that, they will usually go and scout out the venue. And you can see here in the picture that they take pictures with their cameras from various angles, from various seats, to make sure that whatever stage they make will look good. They also take into account what kind of equipment is at the venue, what kind of lights, what kind of effects, and then painstakingly rebuild every aspect of it. So everything that Plave touches and interacts with is actually virtual. It's like if you play a video game and you run around on the backgrounds, on the buildings, on the landscapes, someone also had to model these in 3D. And this is pretty much the same thing. This is also why it takes them so long. And this is probably also why Plave doesn't perform on 1,000 stages. Because not only do they have to model all of these things, they also have to reference what is there at the venue. For example, here at the bottom, you see that they are standing on this elevated part of this stage. I'm pretty sure this is a part that also exists on the stage, but they remodeled it and sort of created an illusion. If you look closer at the image, it's probably really difficult for you to tell which parts of what you're seeing is actually the LCD screen and which parts are real-life lamps. Their 3D artists are so incredibly skilled. If you look here behind them on the lamps, they don't exist. They're not real. They're just this good at rendering these kind of things. And not only do they have to recreate the entire stage, all the lamps and everything, they also have to coordinate and choreograph all the movements of the lamps, etc. It's also the company that decides and cuts to the different angles. That was just one part. The second part to it is that they have really amazing motion capture suits. I'm pretty sure they have like customized motion capture suits as well. Tuna has made a fantastic video of what these suits might look like and what they might work like, because the company themselves actually have been a little bit secretive about it. They also have different suits for different purposes. So the suits that they wear for the live streams are different than the ones that they wear for stage. Very rarely they will actually use some green screen for this performance. They used green screen to create a behind view, and you can see like the little tiny dots in the black strip like in front of them. That's actual audience. They also have an AR studio, and you might be wondering, what does AR stand for? What is VR? So VR is virtual reality, meaning everything that you're looking at is virtual, is a 3D model. Versus AR means augmented reality, meaning that we have parts of like real life tangible reality mixed with virtual elements. And a lot of people have asked, how does this work? I almost feel bad to tell you this because I might be bursting some bubbles, but it actually is really, really interesting. So for instances where they interact with non-virtual people, they actually set up screens. And they're super strategic with how they set them up. For this one, it was just like a face-to-face interview, so they didn't have to do anything crazy. But for all the other appearances, they have set up multiple screens that are where the Plave members would be if they were really in the same space. Conversely, they place screens for Plave to see where the guest would be. And then the rest of the magic really is how incredibly good Plave is at embodying it. It takes a lot of skill to turn what is essentially just a fancy video call into something that looks so interactive and real. It also speaks volumes about the guests, or like where the shows where they have been guests for, and their incredible talent to interact with the screen. Now lastly, how is it possible that Plave can interact with fans on their concerts? When Plave is lucky, they will get to see the fans as well because someone is at the venue filming them. So while they're performing, they also have a screen of the audience, and they love it. They really, really look at it. And I say when they are lucky because, as I mentioned in other videos, they don't really get to see the fans, like the faces of the fans, that often. So in their in-ears, they hear the fans on the screen, they see the fans, and conversely, the fans see Plave on the screens in the concert. So you can imagine it as the most elaborate video call of all time, with literally the cutest people of all time. If you've never seen their concerts, you absolutely have to look them up. You have to look for Plave FanCon and see how incredible it looks. Because it's not only that they are slaying on the stage vocally and in terms of performance and that the graphics are killer, they also incorporate things like effects that they can use at the venue, like soap bubbles, confetti, pyro effects. And they also incorporate those effects in the virtual 3D stages to create an incredibly seamless and very immersive effect. I'm also pretty sure that the company probably has the most insane internet connection, because not only are we spoiled with live streams every week in literal 4K, for the Encore fan concerts, they were able to negotiate with cinemas not only in Korea but actually also abroad, such as Malaysia and Indonesia, to live stream in real time their concert to cinema. So you could go there like a little concert just all over the world at the same time. Like, that's so crazy, that's so cool, and I envy everyone who got to see the concert in the cinema or like right at the venue. But even if you can't go to a cinema or to the concert, they typically also offer tickets to stream them online. Anyway, I want to take the chance to just say, like, thank you to the company staff, to the 3D artists, to the incredible conceptual artists. And you watching this, you should say thank you too. Say thank you to them right now, actually. That's why Plave themselves talk about Team Plave. And it's not just the Plave members, it's also all of the staff, it's also the company. Because if it wasn't for them, we literally would not be able to see them. Some people might argue, like, is it really the same as going to a concert when the people are there? And to that I have to say, the vast majority of people sitting in a sold-out stadium are looking at the screen anyway. And secondly, in their Encore fan concert, they actually had a segment where they were in the crowd. But I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I want you to look it up and see for yourself and be amazed for yourself, because I remember the first time I saw it and my breath was literally taken away. The company is incredibly experimental and eager to figure out new ways for Plave to interact with the fans. Oh, also a question that I see a lot is when the members are like flying or like they hover or something, people are like, oh, how do they do it? Do they like get strapped into something and flown up? They haven't really said it, but I'm pretty sure it's just someone lifting them up. I'm pretty sure just a buff staff member just picks them up. Though I'm sure there have been other cases where they did something else. Oh, what I also haven't mentioned, in order for them to live stream Plave at all, they actually had to solve a really big problem, which was to calculate the movement captured by the suits and then adding the rendering and everything and the collision and blah blah blah. And they literally developed a new way to do it, which is insane. Like, if you know anything about the industry, it is insane. But I'm literally at 10 minutes again, so I guess I have to talk about it in another video. Bye! The way Plave was formed and how the members were selected is actually one of the biggest reasons of why I'm such a fan. This comment already hints at it, but Plave ended up being these 5 guys because they knew each other and they trust each other. So let me tell you all about how Plave came to be. Now, if I was a diligent fan, I would gather all the clips and the screenshots of when they talked about this, but I'm not. So sit back and relax because this too will be very long. Yejin has talked about this on his bubble. He talked about his first impressions with all the members, and he knew Noah from a long time ago. But basically, Yejin was the first trainee of the company, and the company is not a K-pop company, as I've mentioned before. But from what I understood, they are more of a game company, more like a tech company. And they wanted to try out the virtual idol concept, which is, by the way, not new at all. Like, Plave is not the first virtual idol by any stretch of the word. Not even just in Korea. Like, in Korea, decades ago, there has been a virtual idol. And anyone coming from the VTuber community, from the Japanese virtual idol community will say, like, yeah, this has been around. So yeah, they wanted to give it a shot, and they wanted to make a vocalist-only group, actually. So you can already tell the concept underwent quite a lot of changes. But I'll get to that. So obviously Yejin alone wasn't gonna make a whole group. As he was practicing singing, he remembered his good friend Noah. They've known each other for, I assume, years before, and that they inspire each other and motivate each other. And he thought to himself, you know, if he was here, this would be so much fun. So he called Noah and he was like, hey, do you want to become a virtual idol group? And Noah was like, I don't know what that is. Sure. You might wonder, like, how do you say yes to something that you don't get, that you don't even know what it is? And I think it makes more sense when you think about how Noah speaks of Yejun. One time, Noah was talking about, like, his first impressions of Yejun, and he said, essentially, when he looked at Yejun, he was like, how can a person like that exist? How can someone be just like so much of an angel? And so just imagine a person that is quite literally an angel to you asks you, hey, do you want to do this thing with me? It will be fun. Yeah, sure. The second person that Yejun called was Eunho. He has also known Eunho for a while, and his first impression was how unbelievably polite Eunho was. But not like shy, just like extroverted, but also really, really polite. Yejun has talked about how Eunho would keep calling him like Hyungnim, which is like, he would call him Hyung already because he's older, but he would add like another layer of politeness, like Hyungnim. And Yejun had said like, very few people do that. It's kind of like a bit much. Or not too much, it's just like unusual. And he said like, when you meet someone like that, who's just like so excited and polite, like you can't help but like that person, right? And also he learned about Eunho's talent for music and how good he was at producing music, at writing music, and he felt like, man, this is a guy that I can learn a lot from, and he continues to think so. So he called Eunho and he was like, Eunho, do you want to do Plave? And Eunho was like, I have no clue what that is, but if someone so cool and special like you is asking me to, hell yeah! He just had full trust that this angel Hyungnim would just want the best for him. And so, of course, whatever this mysterious Plave thing is, yes! The 3 of them were still looking for more people. So Eunho was thinking about it and he was like, you know who I want to call? Bambi! They also have known each other for years, and they described their friendship like, not like they are actively trying to be friends, but they just kind of can't help but constantly find each other in each other's lives. And the way he called him was actually... Okay, let me just tell you. He basically contacted Bambi like, Bambi Hyung, I need your help. Where are you? And Bambi was like, okay, what the hell is going on? Sure, I'm coming. So they basically tricked him to come to the company building, and then they made him sing and dance, and he was like, what? Okay, sure. And then they recruited him, which is so funny to me. So anyway, it was just the 4 of them for a while. And they were trying to make it work, but they very quickly realized like we are still missing someone. Like we are not a well-rounded group, like in terms of skills, but also in terms of like personalities. Like someone's missing. Yejun talked about how they had a lot of meetings with a lot of different people, and he said what's really touched him was that at that time, Bambi didn't have to be there at every meeting, but he would always show up and he would always have like his little notes ready and would like really take it so seriously. And so that's how Yejun was like, wow, this guy is really reliable. But anyway, you already know who the fifth member is. How did Hamin find his way to the group? Noah and Hamin met each other a while prior to the group being formed. And they met each other at some sort of like music educational event. And both of them appeared at that event as coaches. Noah as a vocal coach and Hamin as a dance coach. And their accommodation was really close to each other, so they ended up seeing each other and saying hi to each other. Hamin actually said that at that time, he heard Noah hum. And just from that humming, he was so impressed. He was like, wow, this guy is really good. Then Noah saw Hamin performing and dancing and teaching. And Noah was incredibly impressed. And he said like, wow, how can this guy move his body like that? Hamin at that time was like, I want to build a connection with this guy. So Hamin actually really tried hard to be sociable and fun. And one morning he also brought Noah like a shot of vitamin juice. But anyway, as Plave were looking for their last member, Noah remembered this guy. And he was like, you know what, let me pitch Hamin to the group and to the CEO and let me call Hamin. Now, the thing is, unlike the other guys, Hamin picked up his call and he was like, this sounds like a scam. And he didn't say yes right away. Noah said he actually really had to butter him up. But eventually, Hamin was like, you know what, I can go and just check it out, I guess. I think Noah also buttered the CEO up a little bit and said, like, you need to make sure he joins. So Hamin and the CEO meet, and the CEO was like, oh, so you are Hamin. I heard that you're really good at dancing and that you speak Japanese really well. Only one of those things was true at the time. It's actually something that Hamin complained about afterwards to Noah and said, like, how could you tell the CEO that I'm good at Japanese? I don't know how to speak Japanese that well. And in true Noah fashion, he said, what? You can just study and become good at Japanese. Don't you know I had to sell you to the CEO? I did it for you. Anyway, Noah was just incredibly persistent with Hamin and just begged him on his hands and knees and said, like, please join us. And you know what? Hamin to this day still says it was like the most important and the best decision he has ever done in his life. He also says things like that he's grateful for Noah's parents for having birthed him. If you've watched this far, I'm gonna share my favorite Hamin story. That literally made me cry on the bus. So after Plave was formed, they actually had to practice on their own for quite a while. So when the 5 of them finally practiced together for the first time, that was of course a big deal. Especially for Hamin, who never really experienced working in a group, like in an idol group like that before. And he really practiced so hard. And he was really excited to finally come together and see everything come together. That at the end of the practice, he asked, this was so fun. Can we just stay here and like not go home? Like, oh my god, he was literally having so much fun. And he likes them so much. And then as they trained and as they had their debut and everything, they just became closer and closer. And it is so hilarious to me to see the members that didn't know each other at times being even closer than with the members that they knew from before. And overall, they are just found family. And that's what I love about them so much. Ultimately, Plave only came together because they trust each other. Oh my god, I forgot to say like how they became a dance group. It's because Bambi actually suggested it. He was like, you know what, we can sing, but it would be so much cooler if we could also dance. And Yejun and Eunho really had to think about this for quite a while. They were really unsure about it, but eventually they said like, you know what, Bambi, we trust you. Let's try. Plave write and choreograph everything that they do, and there's actually a story behind that. At the beginning of Plave, they actually didn't intend to write their own songs. They actually asked around if there are any songwriters that wanted to make songs for them, as well as choreographers that wanted to make choreographies for them. But everything they got was kind of not good because nobody really took them seriously. No one really believed in the virtual concept, so it was almost upsetting to receive things where you can tell, like, wow, they really don't take this seriously. So eventually they decided, you know what, let's make these songs ourselves. Yejin, Noah, and Eunho are primarily responsible for writing the songs, and Bambi and Hamin are making the choreographies. The producer line is really knowledgeable in song making, which they have demonstrated multiple times, even on live streams where you could watch them make the songs. They don't necessarily share every little bit of their songmaking process, but here are the things that they have told us so far. They have been basically working on songs non-stop since before their debut, of course. Some of their song ideas even come from before Plave was even a thing. For example, the Christmas song. Noah had that idea for that song and the melody before Plave was founded, and he talked about how he was observing the snow falling, which he so romantically described as crow's poop. And he came up with that melody on the spot, but he didn't have anything to record it, so he was humming the melody non-stop all the way until he was home to record it. Anyway, if you watch their live streams where they make music, you can see that the three of them have their own like strengths and weaknesses until they balance each other really, really well. So all three of them, well, all five of them are crazy perfectionists. And amongst the producers, allegedly Yejin is the craziest. If he's not happy with even the most minute detail of a harmony or a melody, he will work on it. Literally, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he sleeps, if he eats, he will work on it. And for the, I think, final harmony in the song Island, they really worked so long and hard on the harmony, and then they were like, okay, we're done. And Yejin was like, okay, no, we're not done. And he went back to record it even though they were supposed to submit it. Eunho, if you observe him in the live streams, tends to have like immediate ideas. And he can come up with melodies and lyrics like pretty much on the spot, and he enjoys it very much. And Noah, in the recent Billboard interview, also said that it's very apparent when you watch Eunho work that he loves making music so much. Noah is essentially their wild card, and he comes up with the craziest things. And it adds a very unique quality to the music and a level of spice almost. Like, not that the music is necessarily spicy, but it's just like there's a kick to it. And he can sometimes get very obsessed with his own ideas, and so Yejin and Eunho sometimes have to reel him back in a little bit. All of the songs that they allowed us to listen to while unfinished tended to have the melody, and then the lyrics would follow. And that's why sometimes they refer to these like unfinished songs as like alien songs, because the lyrics don't make sense, and sometimes they don't even say words, they're just like mouthing sounds. And they say like, yeah, this is alien language. In terms of music making, you can tell, and they have said this themselves as well, that their goal is to make music that is worth listening to, that is pleasant and that is easy. And if you go through their whole discography, you can tell that they love exploring different genres as well. Recently, they said that they would like to try jazz, and they said that there's pretty much no genre that they wouldn't try. Obviously, because they write their own songs, they can really play into each other's strengths. And what I find so fascinating is that they don't rely on the things that are comfortable to them, but they are very much willing, curious, and push themselves to new limits pretty much every song. All five of them actually possess vocal skills where most K-pop companies would not really bother training them any further. But all of them actually actively take vocal lessons. When recording the vocals and the rap, they actually also direct each other. And of course, each one of the three have like their own directing style. When Bambi talks about what they are like in the studio, he says it's a bit of a carrot and a stick situation, where Yejin basically is the carrot and Noah is the stick and tends to forget that there should be a carrot as well. But he feels equally pressured by both of them. Yejin will praise them a lot, like to high heaven, saying like, you're doing great, this was fantastic, this was perfect. And there was also one time where Yejin was like, okay, I think you need a little bit more support. Like he said that to Bambi, and went into the recording booth with Bambi, and he was talking about it and was like, wasn't that nice? Like, wasn't it so lovely to have me there? And Bambi was like, no. So this is a little fun fact. Most of the covers that Hamin and Bambi have recorded, they actually recorded with Eunho, and I suspect it's probably because he is the nicest about the recording. Now, once the song is like done enough, it doesn't have to be finished, but like everything is laid out, they give that rough version to Hamin and Bambi to make the choreography. And as you may or may not know, Hamin was the last member to be added, and Bambi talks a lot about how he is so glad because it really put off a lot of pressure off of his shoulders, and that making choreographies with someone else to bounce ideas back and forth with is really, really helpful. For both of them, their dancing also has like slightly different qualities, which, really shows. And so they integrate those parts into the choreographies. This is also why they gave themselves a new unit name last year, which is called Even Kicks, comprising of the part even and kick, meaning that one of them makes the choreography even and the other one gives it a kick. But I kind of forgot which one was who. Anyway, because they make the choreography themselves, they as well can play into the strengths of each member, while at the same time pushing each member to the limit. And the staff of the company themselves have said that a lot of fans praise how the motion capture technology has improved and the dances look sharper, but it's not just the tech that has improved, it's also that the members' dancing has improved. But because they also make their own choreographies, this also means that they sometimes change things in the middle of teaching. Some of the members have complained, like jokingly, that they would like practice a move and then Bambi would go to the bathroom and he would have a new idea and then he would come back and be like, okay, let's do this differently. And they're like, seriously? The teaching styles of Hamin and Bambi are also very different. Hamin is a wonderful teacher, both of them are. Hamin is a very attentive and like very detailed teacher. There are some live streams where they teach each other dances and you can tell that Hamin is so attentive and like really fine-tunes his teaching to the person that he's teaching the dance to. And I think it's also really important to him. You can tell that members that need a lot of encouragement, he will give them a lot of encouragements. Members that need like a more creative way to remember things, he will give them like a creative way. Eunho and Yejun, for example, they need more support when it comes to learning a dance. And you will see Hamin break down every move like so small and slowly, and he will like encourage them throughout the way. And Eunho talked about how Hamin would like do like one hand movement and he's like, see? Isn't that easy? He also adjusts the pacing of the teaching to each member and does repetitions wherever necessary. So, long story short, he's an incredibly structured teacher. And then on the flip side, you have Bambi, who is anything but that. But interestingly, personally, I feel like it also works and is also necessary for the group. He doesn't really explain the dance with like words and the counting. He instead just makes noises. And I know a lot of dancers also know this, where you're, instead of like, okay, left leg up, you just say, ha, hoo, hee, hoo, ha. And it's not quite as random as it sounds, because they did a little segment in one of the live streams, or last go episodes, I don't remember, where they played the sounds that Bambi made. They had a text-to-speech generator read it out loud, and then the members had to guess like what song it was. And they actually got it right. Not all of them, to be honest. That test was kind of hard. But if you hear Bambi talk like that, like you can tell, okay, like there is just the sense of musicality. Because again, the sounds aren't random. The sounds point out the sounds in the song that you need to listen to for the choreography. Now, I wish I could tell you more about how they make the music video, the concept, the lore and stuff, but they actually have never told us anything about that, as far as I know. So, that's it. Oh, and if you haven't already, you should definitely look up Plave's Alien Song 1 and Alien Song 2 and tell me which one you like more. If Plave is your first K-pop group, you may not know that the way that they communicate with fans is very different. I'm sorry, this is so terrifying. I can't do it. But like, for those of you who don't know, this is this drawing is the unofficial / official Plave fandom mascot. but I'll tell you the lore some other day maybe. What I did want to talk about is that I think a lot of fans who have never been a K-pop stan before don't really understand just how much we are hearing of Plave. So I wanted to bring you some examples. First of all, it is pretty much unheard of to see every member every week. They are very evenly distributed. Secondly, it is unheard of to have reoccurring content in this amount. We get new content, like at least 5 hours every single week. This is crazy. And it's not just any content, it is particularly tailored to each member to make them shine. Other K-pop groups don't really do live streams. If anything, they do like personal live streams, maybe on their Instagram or something. There used to be something called V-Live, but we don't talk about it. It used to be like it's basically a streaming platform just for K-pop idols, but for some reason they stopped doing that. But even during that era, they were not scheduled. Very rarely. Like, you would maybe get a notification 10 minutes before it starts. So forget about a weekly scheduler, let alone a monthly scheduler. For those of you who are just on TikTok, Plave Twitter posts every month a monthly overview of the planned schedules, and every week they post details on like who will appear on those schedules, which is also unheard of. And then one thing that a lot of fans have told me is that the amount of bubble messages that you get is actually crazy. There are a few exceptions amongst K-pop idols, but the vast majority do not use bubble every day, let alone even every week. If you're lucky, you might get a handful of messages in a month. But particularly members like Yejun talk so much on bubble, like you don't check your phone for a month or a week even, and you have 1,000 unread messages. They're also incredibly clingy, even when they do have their rare like extended time off, which even then is like a week at best. On the first day of their vacation, they will be like, I miss you on bubble. The other thing that some of you may not know about is the browser game that they sometimes have. They collaborated with something called Zump and created levels where fans can basically get into the game through their browsers, and you get like little avatars that you run around as, and they give you like a name. Like, you don't pick a name, you can't log in, you don't have an account or anything. And then each level is something like you have to jump on a button a ton of times. Like it's a collaborative game where everyone has to jump on buttons until it reaches a certain level, and then you free like one of the members or something like that. This, as well as fan calls, are one of the very few times that Plave actually gets to interact with the fans directly. The only other time are concerts. And this actually has very little to do with the video, but I always get a little bit sad because we get to see Plave so much, like as I mentioned, like 5 hours a week, but they actually don't get to see us very much. Of course, we interact with them, but on Bubble, you don't see who sent the messages. Like, all the messages look the same. And on YouTube, on the live streams, you just see the names, of course. One thing they also say again and again, and Hamin recently also said again, that they love watching videos made by their fans. There is a somewhat established format called Plave, and that's just like vlogs that fans upload, be it because they went to the concert, or they're unboxing an album, or they're just having a nice day and meeting other fans. They make little vlogs of them, and Plave actually like literally watches them. Hamin also said, I think on the live stream, that all the dance challenges, he actually like loves watching them. They also spend a lot of time on YouTube and read a lot of YouTube comments. So if you haven't yet, I really do want to encourage you to write a lot of nice things for them in the comment section, because they really want to read as much as possible. They also know a lot of the insider memes and the things that the fandom talks about online, though before you panic, they tend to be more on the Korean side of things. If you've watched until now, I want to give you a funny story, which in one of the YouTube comments, someone said that they got to know Plave and they were like, okay, cool, let me subscribe to the bubble. And they got so many notifications by them, way more than from their own boyfriend, that they ended up unsubscribing. Oh yeah, another detail about their interactions with fans. Their fan calls are very, very crisp quality. If you see other idol groups' fan calls, and like there's no shade to them by any means, but you can tell that Vlast is a tech company because like what do you mean you get to see them in like 4K? Oh, another way that fans can interact is for the Plave radio. They send out a Google form a few days, like half a week in advance, and you can send in questions that you have or things you want to say to them. Oh my god, also the most important part, I forgot about this. So last year in September, they actually opened up a cafe just for fans. And usually these cafes are very small or like maybe at the bottom of their company in the basement or something. But they actually rented out an entire expensive building in a very popular area. And it has multiple floors for fans to explore. There is a cafe with like food, but they also have like a museum and stuff like that. And they have a mailbox that is just for fan letters, meaning that if you go there, you can write. And they also sell like cards and pens so that you can just sit down with your Plave themed coffee and cake and write a letter to them, and they will definitely read it. Overall, there aren't that many opportunities for Plave to directly interact with fans, and you can tell that sometimes they're very much yearning for it, which, for example, during the live streams for the Zump game that I mentioned, they were so excited. But you can tell that they really are so thoughtful and try to squeeze out as much interaction as possible. Even if you didn't manage to win a fan call, they will still send messages. Like Hamin sent a bubble message saying like, I wanted to say hi to all the lovely fans that didn't get to win a call. And even if you don't have bubble, they will be there on Weverse, on their fan cafe. And even if you don't have that, they will be on YouTube. All of these ways of interacting are very, very uncommon in the K-pop industry. So yeah, that's all just to say that we as fans are incredibly spoiled. I'm actually glad sometimes that they tend to keep the weekends clear because like, man, I need to see my friends and family. Plave is different than a regular K-pop group. Their company is a bit different than a regular K-pop company. And you know who's also quite interesting? Their fandom. I've been posting about Plave for about a year on TikTok, but also on Twitter, so I got a lot of data. So let's look at it together. These are the stats of one of my most popular posts. You can check like how many views, blah blah blah, it has on my profile. But first of all, as you can see up top, it is 90% female. Unsurprisingly, the vast majority of Plave fans are girly pops, but they do have fanboys. I don't necessarily have any data on this, it's just like observation, but the fanboys, they tend to like Noah and Eunho the most, and then eventually they start liking Hamin as well. And then, as you can see, the predominant age group is above 18. I also made a lot of polls on Twitter every now and then, and yeah, most of Plave stans are anywhere between 20 and 25, and then a good chunk is above 25. If we actually add these two age groups together, we have 95% of Plave stans are above the age of 18. I still remember when I started becoming a Plave fan, I was like, oh, should I be kind of vague about my age? Like, because every time I was in a K-pop fandom before, even like years before, I was always considered like so old, like the mom of the group, whatever, and I never wanted to be. But here, very quickly, I realized, oh, you all are my age. So most Plave stans are actually either in higher education or already working adults, and this is why they have so much spending power. Some of you may know, but recently they cracked the record of selling 1 million albums in the first week of the release of the album, which is insane. That's because they have Nuna fans working their butts off. Why is this so interesting? It's because Plave is a relatively new group. In March, it's going to be their second anniversary, and usually groups that only came out in the last 2 years tend to appeal to younger generations, because from a business standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. But not only are Plave themselves not like 15 years old, Neither are their fans. Usually with like a fresh new group, there is someone who is unfortunately incredibly young. I say unfortunately because I don't think that at age 16 you should be on the stage. Like, much love to these kids, but I just think like you're at such a vulnerable age. But I digress. What I want to say is that usually a group that is this young usually also has members that are very, very young and teenagers themselves. So they want to appeal to other teenagers so that they can basically grow up together. But even for like older groups that are not just 2 years old, but like 3 years, 5 years, 6 years even, the typical demographic for a K-pop group is usually teenagers and up to maybe 23, 24. And the older fandoms are usually of like very well established, like much older groups. Now let's look at where they're from. If we look at the locations, we see that the top 3 spots are Southeast Asia. And that is primarily because I am an English speaking account. If I was a Korean speaking account, it would look a little bit different. But in general, the bulk of Plave's fandom is in Asia. Here are the stats of another video, incredibly similar age brackets, the same countries. I found that quite surprising because all the K-pop groups that I was a fan before had really big US fandoms. And well, the US does take up quite a big spot, but usually I'm used to way, way more. It was a really refreshing experience for me because I'm from Germany personally, and I still remember for a really long time a lot of Play fans thought that I was also like Malaysian or Indonesian, and they would like forget to speak in English to me. They're really so cute though. I have had an overwhelmingly positive experience with the fandom, though I do have to say I come from very, very shitty fandoms. But here, everyone has been really, really nice to me. And if you're new as a fan, you may not know that if you're also from these countries, I promise to you there are probably fan events. They're called CSE, cup sleeve events, because it's usually in conjunction with a cafe. And they make fan-made merch like stickers or photo cards, and they will invite artists to send donations. And this is why I know about it, even though I'm on the other side of the world. I have participated in a bunch of fan events, and sometimes they also send me some freebies. And it's just so cute, like the way that they gather, and they have like little activities like decorating top loaders or a cake together. The fan events in Korea, though, they are insane. They're so good and like so detailed. I always die of envy. For Hamin's birthday last year, there was one that was a club event, and there was like, I don't think any alcohol involved or anything, but it was like an hour set where you could just go in there and a DJ would mix and play like every single Plave song as well as their covers, and it looked so good and so fun. Anyway, I'm yapping again. What I also wanted to say is that what's interesting about the Plave fandom is that they come from different, like, other fandoms. Of course, a good chunk comes from other K-pop groups, but a really big chunk also comes from VTubers, of course, unsurprisingly. Another big chunk comes from, like, webtoons, mangas, manhwas, and then, way more than I thought, come from just being interested in tech. There are a bunch of fans who like never listened to K-pop, never read a webtoon, never watched a VTuber. They just saw Plave and they were like, how does this work? And they're interested in like CGI and motion capture and animation. Oh, and then there's a really significant chunk of just straight up graphic designers, animators, illustrators, just like creative people who look at Plave and they're like, what are these guys? There are also a couple of fans that I've met that don't even belong to that group, and then I'm also like, how did you get here? And they're like, I don't know, I just thought they're funny and their music is really good, and now I'm kind of stuck here for life. Oh, also, if you think to yourself like, oh my god, I can't stick to a bias, neither can most fans. Half of the fans literally just switch biases all the time. I also made another poll, I can't find it, but I asked like how many people have more than one bias, and I think only about 20% of the people who answered had one bias. Almost everyone else has at least two, And there's a huge chunk that just like all 5 of them equally, or it just like switches. Solo stands are so incredibly rare. Solo stands means that you only like one member and you actually don't support the other members. In the Plave fandom, everyone likes everyone. But to be honest, I also find it kind of absurd to only like one of them and to dislike anyone else, because it's like, oh yeah, this is my fave, and I hate his best friend and his soulmate and the guys that he loves to hang out with. Also, because as mentioned, the vast majority of Plave fans are adults, I was like, okay, are you married? Because I hear that, I see that someone's like, oh, my husband bought me the Plave album, or I went to see the concert with my child. But I'll just leave this poll without comment. Like, I don't know. Why was I even surprised?